we're gonna do roll call item number 1. And I think we just did roll call. So missing is Joanna and Carla.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, that's somebody leaving. So do we want to excuse the absent members?
I'll make a motion to excuse Carla and Joanna from the meeting.
J.R. Russell seconds.
Okay. Motion
So
approved.
you have to ask the question. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
That's why I need to be in person.
I don't believe we have anybody from the public here. So,
Were we gonna have some comment from Pat McVeigh?
oh, yeah, that's right.
Who?
Pat
Okay.
McVeigh, the
Oh.
Chainsaw
Acorn.
sculptor?
Let's see here. Sorry about this. He's trying to call in, I think, but I have to email him, not through his wife's email, which is what he normally checks. I could use my.
While we're trying to connect with Pat, you want to move on to number 4 and do the first action item?
Good thinking.
Would somebody,
I haven't seen the minutes. Can we share the screen or something? Because I don't remember getting them.
I agree.
Did you want one of us to read the minutes from October?
I think as long as you guys have reviewed it, someone can go ahead and report a motion to approve the minutes unless you have any amendments to it.
Do we have anything on the minutes in October that we need to review?
I just had to change the month
month.
from August to October.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Approved. Okay, motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
From October of 2022. We ready to vote?
Vote? No, I was just gonna say, call the vote.
Are we gonna approve, want to call the vote to approve the October minutes?
All approving, say aye.
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 Teresa looks like she slipped into the toilet. Super slow motion. Slow motion.
Can you put the December minutes on the screen for us?
Oh,
I haven't seen them.
Look at you clicking around.
yeah. One of the things I said is that remember to bring your mouse. Okay, so will this be the packet?
You got it. That was the agenda, I think.
Oops. All right. Oh, that was usually in the packet, it has the minutes. Oh, but that's,
That would be,
no, yeah. So it'd be 2023, right? Good. And there we go. There you go.
Thanks, Gideon. Sorry, I missed that attachment somehow. I don't know how, but I didn't print it, but thank you.
Yeah. Want me to, would help if I reduce the size so you get like the whole screen.
Perfect.
Is that doable? There we go.
Looks great. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for December 8th.
second,
All approve, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Okay, we're unanimous again. Any luck with Pat?
I'm not seeing him.
Well, we can try to have a conversation with him and then express what he wants to express to city council when we go to the workshop.
Okay.
We're talking about the cover for the Acorn. He has been reaching out. I know I had a conversation with him, but he has been reaching out to Laura at the Gary Oak Society, and they're talking about some of the things that we'd like to provide to the community around the Acorn. First, structure over it to protect it and lengthen its life, and then doing some coloring pages for the kids, and then hide and seek, find the characters that are on the Acorn, and then maybe some Gary Oak history about our trees. So they really want to get moving on that. I think Tim Leonard and he are working on a design for a three-legged cover to go over the Acorn. What I know. So I think he wanted to talk about that, but we were going to squeeze him into public comment because he wasn't on the agenda. So that kind of catches everybody up on where they're coming from. And I'm not really part of that dialogue with he and Laura, and there was somebody else. He just shared it with me. So
Is this
I
meant
just,
to be, sorry, is this meant to be like a shade structure, or just protect it from the elements?
protect it from the elements. It's not going to be enclosed. It'll just take the majority of the rain and the snow and something that would come down on it. It's just to keep the elements off of it. It wouldn't protect it from driving rain and wind all the way around the sides, but it'll keep stuff from collecting in the pockets. And I believe, Gideon, if
Yeah.
I'm not misunderstood, the structure has already been padded into the money that we set aside for the Acorn.
We have plenty I'll see how much we have left over. I don't have stuff in front of me right now, and I'm not gonna hunt.
So if that number doesn't compute, we're probably going to have to bring that to city council at the workshop as well.
We most likely will, because the amount that's left over will pay for past design, which he's hardly charging us anything. But I think getting an engineer is going to be the bigger high dollar amount to make sure it's engineered correctly and we're meeting all those requirements. And then what's nice is that, oh, here's Pat. Is the engineer may give us a nice cost estimate as well.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Pat?
Hi,
Hey,
Hi, Pat.
is my audio on?
Yes.
So you can hear me okay? All right, hi, everybody.
Hey, Pat.
So I'm doing this with my cell phone, so hopefully I can, show you things and you can see them. Well, do you want me to say what I was going to present? Or are you ready?
You have the public comment floor.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me back. And I did a sketch of the proposed roof for the Acorn to protect it. And I wanted to hopefully do this in metal. And I'll show you my rough sketches. And it's going to take a while to get this all the way through the bureaucracy, I'm sure. But anyway, if I turn this phone around, can you see this sketch?
You have to turn your video on.
Oh, my video's not on. Okay, so let me see. Oh, boy.
Put your pants on
This
first.
is where I need my, I'm sorry, what?
Nothing.
Okay, there it is.
there we
Okay,
go.
did that do? Oh, okay, I see. Is that me? Holy cow. Well, all right. So if I turn this around and show you, I'll turn this phone over and show you the sketch. So I'm not, you let me know if I need to move left or right or whatever. And this is a rough sketch and it shows the roof kind of curving over the top of the Acorn. And does that show up?
Back it up.
Okay.
Turn the picture, turn the sketch to your left.
Like that?
Yes.
Yep.
Nice.
Keep going.
Go on.
Rotate 90 degrees.
Nice one.
Ta-da, there you go.
Okay, so now this is the basic idea where it's a cluster of oak leaves made in lightweight steel, and they would create a roof over the top of the Acorn. And the leaves are each the same size as the leaf that's underneath the Acorn. And that leaf is a heavy duty steel that keeps the Acorn from sinking the sidewalk. But the leaves on the roof would be much lighter steel and would provide a good shelter. And if they're the same size, they're 8 feet long, each leaf. So we only need 3 of them to cover the whole thing. And I'll show you what it would look like from the top. So this would be that the Acorn is shaped like this. It's kind of a triangular shape pointing towards the beach. So you'd only need 3 leaves to cover it. The original sketch that I just showed you before that showed it pretty bent as far as the edges. So the roof would look more like this, so that it would you want it up high enough so it's not going to bonk anyone in the head, and it'll shed plenty of rain and protect it from the sun. And then we could have the powder coating done on the leaves so that they're different colors of the season. So we could have one that's kind of greenish, another one that's sort of rust color, and another one that's brownish red or some other color like that. So that's the basic idea. The legs, because the roof is because the piece is triangular shape, and you can see this view from above again. I think we could just do 3 legs, a tripod type of situation. And my idea was to make them in steel and sort of make a twisted metal sort of a look, to where they're a little bit low key, but yet they have an organic look to them. And so that's the sketch, the rough sketch of the roof that I wanted to show you. So now the other idea is to make a brochure, which would go in, which would be there for kids to color, and it would show all the things that they could discover on the acorn. I'm not sure if this is turned in the correct direction?
Yep.
Okay, so Laura Reminger from the Gary Oak Society said we could use this image, and it's called the Gary Oak guy. And it's a little figure that's made with acorns. And so she said she'd give permission to use that. So on the brochure on the front, I put, "Hey kids, Gary Oak guy says, how many things can you find on the acorn?" And he's pointing towards the people looking at the acorn here. And then when you on the other side of the brochure has some of the elements that's on there. There's the squirrel on the acorn. There's a deer, a rabbit with a flower. Here's the guy living under the trees. There's some mushrooms in there. And then down here would be I would attribute the credit to the Gary Oak Society. And then when you open it up, there's more things that the kids could discover and color. And I tried to remember everything that I put on there, and there was quite a list, but this has some of the sea life area on the inside, as well as the snail that's eating an oak leaf. And there's the saws that cut the tree down, and the mayor's boots. And on the other side, you can see that there's some more things too, that there's the wild rose, the feather, frog catching a bug. There's an edible flower here, oak leaves, a slug. And so basically everything that's on there, and this is just a rough sketch as well too, which can be refined. And then in addition to that brochure, the Gary Oak Society has one that they have printed already, and they're doing a new version. So theirs is a trifold with a map of where you can go to see all the oak trees around, the nice oak trees around Oak Harbor. And then on their other side has information about the Gary Oak Society and the different trees and parks and that kind of thing. And so I thought that we could have that. Oh, and they're updating this to a sculpture to it, which is this little article in the paper. So there's the actual acorn itself. So they're going to add that to their Gary Oak tour. And I thought that we could also have an art tour map that would show where all the public art is in Oak Harbor, including Angel down on the beach down there. And then you could have links to the different artists on there, and they could find out more information with their websites. You could maybe have QR codes, that sort of thing. And so that would be up to the art committee to figure out how best to do that. And you don't have to reinvent the light bulb, because there are other towns that have done that brochure as well, which I could provide you with a few from different shows that I've been in. And the merchants really love it, because it parades people around the town with a map, and they're looking for art, or they're looking for oak trees, and it takes them past the restaurants and galleries and shops and everything, so that it gets people circulating around the town. So it helps you get backing from the merchants as well too. And so that's basically it. I'm happy to go over that sort of idea with you at another point. Okay, Teresa.
Could you mention the idea that you had for reflective quality on the underside of the leaves so that people could
Oh, right.
appreciate the carving in the top of the acorn.
Yeah, I thought that maybe if we could polish that metal on the bottom side of it, so it'd be colored on the outside, on the top with the patinas, and then on the inside we'll polish it so that it gives it more of a mirror-like finish. It won't be a mirror, but it'll reflect light and give more light on the acorn, and perhaps reflect the design or the pattern on top of the acorn too, because it's an interesting pattern on the top of the acorn, and it was a lot of work as well too. So I think, and then we could also probably hide a solar panel on the top and have light that lights up the acorn in the provides an extra little bit of light protected underneath the roof. So that's my basic idea, and I'd like to work with Tim Leonard on this. He's a really terrific metal worker. He did the big leaf for the bottom, and he also, his background, he worked on the Experience Music Project building that Frank Gehry designed downtown. He has a lot of artwork around the south end of the island as well too, and he's a really A1 guy, as everyone knows, that follows through with what he's going to do, and he's a good designer and engineer as well too. So that's I just apparently there's enough of a budget to go ahead with some of this already. I'm not sure about all the details about that, but we'll try to finalize a sketch and get a price to everyone to fabricate the shelter itself, and then it'll need to be engineered, of course, and it is a wind tunnel there, so we want to make sure it's all anchored down real well. But this will really provide a lot of extra protection for the acorn. It was what was it, 1635 or something like that the tree started growing. So it's really an old piece of wood, and it needs some protection. And I did the best I could with the varnishing and everything else that it takes to protect it. But and I carved it so that it would shed water as well, so it doesn't pool water. But that roof really had a longevity. Actually, it'll create a good focus for it too, because it's in a big space between those two buildings on that plaza. So the roof will provide it a little bit more focus of itself too. About it. Any questions? Other questions?
What's the height I know you said 8 feet per leaf in a triangle, so it's like, is that 16 feet across and 8 feet?
No.
So it's one side
No.
in the height.
Yeah, actually, okay, so the actual acorn is about 6.5 feet high, the sculpture. So what we want to do is just go up high enough of a roof. So like, say the roof would be 7.5 feet above the ground. Hopefully no one would bonk their head on that. And then the length of the acorn sculpture itself is 6.5 feet long, and it's about 4 feet wide. So 4 by 6 is the length and width of it, 6.5 feet high, and then so 3 leaves that are 8 feet long by 4 feet wide should be able to cover it. And we can the metal actually comes in 4 by 8 sheets like a piece of plywood. So that's an economical way of doing it as well too. And we can always add another leaf or two if we have to. But I think 3 leaves will probably cover it. And Tim thought that as well too.
So the anticipated,
So
you would have to look it up.
The anticipated what?
Budget for the bill.
I
Sounds
think
like Tim and
maybe only 1.5 feet might not be good in case we had to get in there and do some maintenance in the future or revarnish it. I think somebody should be able to get up there and work if they needed to, or polish the top. So maybe 8.5 or 9 feet.
Okay, yeah, good point.
Because I
And,
mean, if
because
we need to do maintenance on it, you it would be like crawling under a car. Right?
On that,
Yeah.
yeah, on that part of it, anyway, on the
Yeah.
top.
And
Of
then,
course, with the roof, you don't need to do too much maintenance, so, but, I'm sorry, go ahead.
it might need to be a little larger depending on how far away the support is from the acorn. It needs to be at least 4 feet away from the acorn to meet ADA standards,
Oh, right.
American Disability Act. So we might need more leaves, which actually be kind of
5.
cool.
Yeah, 5 leaves would really
Yeah.
do it.
Um,
And
Yeah, we could talk to the engineer, about that.
sure. Okay,
Yeah. Awesome,
So-
Pat.
yeah, it would be really good to know, like the ADA specifications as well as, what your desires are so that, when we go to sketch it out or give a bid so that we have the facts to work with to begin with, so we don't have to keep changing it. Just let us know what you want and then we can work on that. And
I think JR wanted to say something.
Yeah. I can't tell you how exciting this could be. And this thing just can't just show up. And we need to take this to the 11th degree. We have to go beyond 10. We have to take this to 11. And I see so many, I just came from a magic convention where where I was a presenter, but I went to Disneyland or to Universal. I've been to Great Wolf Lodge and I see kids waving wands and trying to find things. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and they have a piece of art and there was a character on it and they replicated one of the characters and hid it in different stores around this area of Columbus. So I can't underestimate, the potential that this has for a marketing campaign that needs to be well thought out, because the coloring sheet could be used in a contest. And I can tell you right now, my grandson entered the Mott's applesauce coloring contest. They just wanted something for Mott's applesauce. And all the entries went in, and he was one of the final 3 in the country. They gave him a $5,000 scholarship, and he's got a table full of, because it was with Crayola. So they used the power of the kid. And I see that this is complete potential to do that. And those characters, they aren't just on the acorn itself. We should be able to take advantage of that or maximize the potential so that there's something over at Popsy's. You got to find this thing. We change it every 6 months. Where, somebody paint it on the pavement someplace or hide it, and people have to find these things. And you can draw attention to this and draw attention to every single place. So all these art pieces, you would say, okay, wait a minute, where's Snickerdoodle the chipmunk? They're always on these art pieces, find them. And he could be, looking from, 10 yards away. There's so much potential. We can't it's more than the pamphlet and the coloring sheet, because this is exactly where the Art Commission could help. And let's find out how to maximize this and take advantage, maybe talk to some of the art teachers in the school. This has to be a massive rollout. This is going to be, and it just shouldn't show up.
I'll do a ribbon cutting with it. Do a ribbon cutting, a Facebook Live, ribbon cutting.
Because I'm actually thinking the same, because one thing is he's saying it just can't show up, and it's really nice and it's really good that we're talking about it here amongst our artful selves. We still live in this community, and then we end up having some pushback because we did not involve the community in what's happening versus going out to those schools, the kids, involving the kids. And even for this, we know what the cover is going to look like, but having a contest on what the cover should look like for the kids, to have them involved in that part, because now we're involving the community in the decision that is coming about. Even though we know what it may look like, or put a sketch that's there and have the kids involved in making that, and maybe one of their stickers or something be on it, but where there's an involvement. And I say that because there's some sculpture here in town where they did it, or a plaque that they did for teachers. And I don't know where it is, but there's something that they did for teachers. And when I tell you, I met one of the teachers, like at dinner at a restaurant, and it's a big deal for them to be involved and their students come back. And that's the part where you have to, JR's right, like it can't just show up. And it's like, and if it's gonna roll out, then it's a build up to that. And then it's like a ribbon cutting. Can't just show up and go, oh, we're having a ribbon cutting for something that we came up with over there at the Arts Commission, because now we have a problem.
And I did contact the chamber about a ribbon cutting, and I can't remember what that response was. They're all for it.
The ribbon cutting for the Acorn.
I lived in Brussels, and everybody knows Brussels is famous for the mannequin piss.
Yeah.
And we'd always bring people, they were like, gotta go see the mannequin piss, gotta go see the mannequin piss, little statue of the peeing boy. So, but they didn't know it was little. And then they get there and there it is, this statue that's this big. People come from all over to look at the statue. They have a museum storeroom that's as big as this whole city hall with outfits and decorations that countries have and celebrities have given to put on this thing. So we can't just, you can think big, man. Let's shoot to the moon on this thing. If we shot big on some of these other things, all those ducks downtown would have a name. The octopus down there that would have a name. There'd be some more excitement on this. So we should really work hard to bring excitement on this.
Yeah, I like the idea of involving the art teachers and kids. We have our neighbor is an art teacher, Oak Harbor, and she teaches 3 grades of little kids. Betsy Gamerick does a terrific job, and she sends us photos of what's hard. So I really appreciate the art teachers, like them getting involved. I don't know about having kids design anything, but I like the idea of them being to take two. So
my wife works with Betsy Gamerick.
I like that.
She's top notch, and that is like would be a perfect name to say, hey, what could we do to reach out to her? My wife will get mad at me for saying that, but that is an ideal person that we could tap into for kids.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm happy to talk with her too. So, so if I could get some idea, so we'll need about a 4-foot clearance between the acorn and the is that enough space to go between the legs and the acorn itself for people who need to get around chairs or whatever? 4 feet is good enough for ADA. Or maybe you could check into it and let us know.
The cement thing behind it.
Yes, so as Mary Elizabeth was asking, there might be an issue with, there's a bench there, and we kind of designed the installation for that to be 4 feet away. So maybe have the bar go behind the bench and then up and over might be an option. Like have it be
Okay, there's good
set, like there's a flower planter right there, have the concrete set there, and then have it go up and over the bench and whatnot, giving it plenty of space.
My insurance brain is like on fire right now.
Okay, thanks.
Because
Okay.
The opportunity to jump on the if there's a bar and then there's something to step on, and then you're inviting children to grab on, to spin around near and play, that's I just want you to consider those other types of things. It's like aesthetically, yes, but then what is that aesthetic? What risk does that pose? Then we have the city issue. So then that part. So just in consideration of design, consider the potential of the risk and who we are inviting to the space. Children, small children, the proximity to a bench that could be stood on, and then bumping heads, jumping off things. So just have a consideration in that.
Thanks.
Sorry to be down there.
Good idea.
Yeah, really, I appreciate it. That's thank you.
And I just say that because when they first opened that, there was just like a dog jumped off and then scratched a lady. And then there was like the ambulance came. Just little things like that become important if we're going to create a space where people are gathering. And then you have the ADA piece, but then you also have those other pieces. So the consideration for proximity to risk is important.
Right. Well, maybe you folks could round up some specifications for you so we can stay within those parameters when we are doing this design. That would be really helpful, since you're closer to all that information than I am right now. Well, any other questions? Nope.
Should I try to get an engineer secured?
Yeah, that's
Sooner
probably,
or later, because now
that's what I was thinking, is if we had an engineer say, okay, well, we need to do this and this and that, and we need to keep it this distance and that, that sort of thing, then, then we can draw it to those specifications.
sounds good.
And then we can run it past them and see if that looks good. And then they all have modifications probably, or suggestions, but at least it'll give us a start. But we'll have the right measurements to go with it to begin with.
So feasibility first.
So awesome.
Yeah.
We still need to likely ask city council so that we can spend some money on this. And that could take months if we don't figure out the number sooner than later. And months mean a next meeting, mean a workshop, mean a next meeting, mean a next meeting, and then it doesn't get fabricated for another year and a half. So we need to pay attention to this, I think.
So engineer-wise.
Right. Because the original, just getting the artwork in there took over a year of meetings and approvals and everything, and it all went well, but it took a while. It's glacial speed. Although glaciers are speeding up now, so maybe there's hope.
Okay, do we want to call an end to the public comment period, or does anybody have anything else they want to talk to Pat about? Is that a no?
Well, thank you, everyone. Nice to see you.
Pat.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's great.
So we'll move on to item number 6 and get an update from Gideon on the Kinnenbrew contractor's response.
Yes. So I do apologize, but the people who are here with hard copies have an email at the very last page from Superior Systems, but I can just read it to you. So good news overall. So Temple Blue, to repair that, it's going to be $2,500. we could cover that for what has been approved by council. We have 25,000 approved by council for the installation and all that kind of good stuff. Meditation, it's $985 for the repair, and to also add the little tabs at the bottom. And I told them, go ahead and pick it up when you can. And again, we have, I believe, 12,000 approved by council. And even with these added costs, we're sitting pretty good. I had thought that the cost of repainting it and sandblasting it would be $7,000. Sandblasting costs closer to 700 and the repainting costs 2,300. So we have a little bit of money left over to do these repairs. Gate of Inspiration is 2,500 for the repairs. So we'll have to bring that to council since we haven't had any action with Gate of Inspiration. So it'll be part of the installation costs.
How
And Three
did-
Totem, yeah.
How did gate get damaged? And last time I saw it, it was not damaged.
The welds got cracked.
Really? Under
Yeah.
all that powder coating?
Yeah,
Huh,
I don't, I mean,
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And then Three Totems. So, again, repair cracked welds, and then they recommend sandblasting before doing any repair work. That's $1,380. So also pretty reasonable, I think. Things that are not included are transportation, and I'd asked him if he could transport it, that would be wonderful. So I'm going to see what those costs are. And to do any kind of additional coating and taxes. But I think all of that should be relatively reasonable.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why are all the wells cracked?
Yeah, it's just something that happens. Yeah.
Like, are they already up and then they're just,
Um,
these are all installed?
yeah,
And then, so now the well, they had an engineering inspection?
exactly. Yeah.
And then
So
under the engineering inspection, then all of the wells are cracked.
yes.
But how long have these been up?
These are not installed yet, are they?
No, they were up in Bellingham for a while, and then they've been hanging out behind Public Works for.
Just outside in the elements?
Yeah.
Without having-
they were housed in the beginning, they were housed and then they just got dumped on the hill.
So they've just been outside in the elements. I'm just,
Yes, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, everything's broken and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Basically,
One of the issues is that artists are not welders,
Right,
so they don't know how to do fabrication, and it's just if a weld's bad, you have a little pinhole in it. Water gets in that pinhole. You get corrosion.
but they've been
and-
outside, so then they've been
Yes,
exposed.
yeah.
So that's why I'm just like,
Yeah.
why? Okay.
Part of it too is probably from transportation from Bellingham, in the shifting, when you transport, they shift and things break.
Yeah, there are some dents on Temple Blue, so they're going to cut out and replace the dented section.
Looks like that's true for Gate of Inspiration as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So will we have the numbers on the Three Totems and the Gate of Inspiration before we meet with City Council at their workshop and we talk about the path forward for what we've set aside to spend on progress or projects we've been talking about and talking about and talking about?
So you mean numbers for
And we're-
installation?
Arts commissioners are expected to be present at the City Council workshop to discuss the Arts Fund, right? That's why we called this meeting, so that we could have our ducks in a row when we make our presentation on why we don't think it needs to be changed at all, right?
Yeah.
Gang, kids, everyone,
Yeah, yeah.
anyone?
Yeah, but
Oh.
I mean, who's gonna own that pipeline? I'm sorry, Cynthia here. Who's gonna own getting that pipeline together in preparation for the workshop, not only for the cost of the installation on this, but an estimated cost on ongoing maintenance on this collection and partnering with Parks and Rec on the ongoing maintenance. I know it was approved at a flat fee, but that probably should be looked at a little more closely as far as what we have in our inventory and what it takes to keep them lovely.
So Gideon, you're dealing with Jim at Superior, right?
Yes.
Could you send him some pictures of what we're talking about? And I think Superior works with Skagit Valley Powder Coat, right? It's just about a couple miles away from them.
Yeah.
And they're the
kinda
ones
like
that
across
did the
street.
original work on the collection when we acquired it. And then, well, they work together. Yeah, I'd like to talk about all of our projects when we go before the workshop. And all the
Remind
things
me
that,
the date of that workshop, T.
is it the 24th? Wait. Gideon?
25th
Oh,
January, 2 p.m.
Yeah, item 7. Preparation for the January 25th City Council workshop.
so out of the projects that are out there, like, you know, what Cynthia's saying, instead of one person trying to manage all the information, is it possible for each commissioner maybe to have 1 or 2, depending on the number, so that the presentation is like, this person doesn't go da 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 da, and then you have more intimate details about the information versus somebody trying to, you know, hold all the data in their head versus it's a lot for one person to try to manage and then accumulate the data and the information and the budgeting for all the projects versus if there's enough of us that are committed to it to be like one or 2 each or however, I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds
I mean,
great.
shift the load.
Yeah.
Is that possible? Anybody?
Totally possible. I've got a proposed project sitting here in front of me that I wanted to discuss when we're talking about preparing for that workshop.
How many projects do we have total?
5, I believe.
Okay.
And then we have Brian here, who's going to be taking over as the staff point of contact. I'll still be attending meetings and helping with get some of these ones done. But I envisioned him being lead for Gate of Inspiration and 3 Totems. And then I'll continue working on Temple Blue and meditation. And then Steve Schuler is helping with Angel Creativity. So he wrote up an amendment to the professional service agreement and has, I believe, handed that to Sculpture Northwest. And there are 3 options: Flintstone Park and the original, or 2 options, I guess: Flintstone Park or the original location. And we'll just kind of see where it goes from there.
And what are they doing in the park right now?
Like with the construction in Flintstone, those are
Portland Loos.
Yep.
Say that again?
Portland Loos. Those homeless proof outdoor bathrooms.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I thought they were moving them to the left looking at the water, but I think they used the original plumbing.
Exactly.
That made sense because when they were talking about moving the plumbing, it was like, you're just adding more expenses to a place where a toilet already was. But that's one of the things I would like too, where maybe we could rotate and take turns attending a parks board meeting so that we know what parks are doing, because art and parks go together and they should probably work together, and we know what we're all up to. They know what we're doing and we know what they're doing.
So do we have an idea when the next park board meeting is?
They're on a Monday at 11.
The last one was canceled.
It is February.
So can I ask again about the workshop on the 25th? What is the primary goal for that, and what's
February 13th.
that workshop supposed to
At 3
be?
p.m.
Here.
Yeah. That's it.
Eric, anything that you can,
I honestly, I don't know. I think what, at a council meeting, when we were doing the biennial budget, we talked about the possibility of cutting back on the Arts Commission budget, you know, and what we were trying to do, I think, is just get additional information as to, you know, what is in the pipeline, what's in the works, what is already allocated, you know, what future plans are, that type of thing. I mean, there's been no discussion between myself and the other council members about it, so I'm only going based upon the feedback we got at that meeting, and that seems to be kind of what we're looking for, or what the questions were, is, you know, what's already allocated and what's the future plans. So
Current, future.
yeah.
Which, to me, I know Cynthia's shared a spreadsheet that we would probably like to take forward, because if we're talking about, okay, we've got these projects that are there, but again, we have not, as an art commission, we still have yet to sit down to come up with new ideas, to be allowed to come up with new ideas. And I know Eric has said we could meet, but you know, with the last one we talked about December, so now we've done the holidays. So we haven't talked about some ideas. I know I've shared a couple of ideas just with Cynthia, but we haven't been able to put those down, because in an ideal thing, we could put a list of 30 projects down there. We could come up with a list of 30 projects that the Art Commission could do if we had resources, and then we can strategize it. So what's the strategic plan? Which ones would we move forward with, and how to move forward with them? So we haven't even tapped or scratched this, because we haven't worked, like you say, we haven't worked with the parks, so we can work with them. You can just see what we've done with the acorn sculpture, what could go with that, how it could explode. So there's a lot of things that we could do. And I know Cynthia, with your list that is just blank, I know I just jotted a couple of things down off the top of my head, and I did that in the airport. So go ahead, Cynthia.
Thanks, JR. So I'll keep beating my get organized drum with this group. And I've spent some time on and this could be under the good of the order in the meeting. I know that's not on the agenda, but just to tell you what I've been up to. I did take time to read through the code and had some suggested changes that I sent in to Michaela and Gideon and copied Teresa on, that I hope can be brought forward to the committee on an agenda item maybe the next time we meet. And I also reflected back on what we covered as far as our responsibility goes and what was priority back in 2001 at our retreat that we had. And at that retreat, there was an outline of kind of a checklist that we've all been really wanting to have on what it takes to get a project done. So all these strategic planning conversations, it just needs to be a meeting for strategic planning. I did create a workbook. It's just an Excel spreadsheet with the intention of that would be the first baby step to share with everybody, maybe on the one site, Gideon, where we were sharing pictures. So the workbook could be a live document for all of us to talk or to tap into. Gideon has that as well as Teresa
OneDrive, yeah.
at it. And so hopefully hopefully that can be brought forward to you next month as well. And we can comment on how it works and if there's any changes necessary. But it really is a top level of just an idea collector. And then go forward with that kind of strategic plan. I mean, JR, you went on and on about marketing for the Acorn. That should be a committee formed of 1 or 2 of us, along with the appropriate people at the city, to get that rolled out and done right. And that would hold true for whatever ranking we come up with our ideas, right? Like, I want to see QR codes installed at all the existing art pieces in town with a new art walk map made. I did get a hold of the one that was done at the chamber a handful of years ago, so we have that PDF file to go off of. But every idea is going to have its own action list and its own path. So, and that would include presentation to council of what we come up with, a true pipeline for. I mean, let's call it strategic planning for 5 years. You know, like, let's come up with a pipeline of ideas, including just ideas for funding. I mean, I have an idea to bring up a group of artists that the city of Redmond has always tapped into for chalk arts on the sidewalks or the pavilion in the park. And that can be written with LTAC grant dollars. So that could be set out for 2024, possibly 2025 with a LTAC grant application, because it definitely would draw tourists. But I mean, we really do need to just, again, take a simple tool, express our ideas, rank them. And another idea is a forum. I mean, let's invite our arts nonprofit as stakeholders to the table and ask them what they expect from their arts commission. What can we do to help partner? I know that Mandy was very vocal about her not being comfortable with the relationship our commission has with Sculpture Northwest. Well, I'm completely on the other end of that spectrum. I think that's exactly what we need to be doing. I think we need to be going out and partnering with other arts-minded nonprofits or private sectors to figure out how we fit in there. So we just need to organize ourselves and come up and review our mission. I mean, just all the very simple basics things in strategic planning, and we've not given ourselves the opportunity to do that. So I'm pushing it. I've pushed it. I'm pushing out some documents that will start those conversations, and I'd be happy to work with Chairperson Kingsbury on the agenda for that, or whoever it is that needs to make it happen for us. But yeah, I think the Acorn idea is great, JR. Let's put it on the list, right? Thank you.
I'll just piggyback on exactly what Cynthia was talking about. There's a list, because I can look at our meeting minutes from October where Wayne Lewis came in with an idea for bronze sculptures. It was a lot of money, but that was his idea. And that's fair to come in there and to present it to the Art Commission. And then we have to think about this. But that would go on a master list, because if somebody else wanted to come in with a project, skateboard park, let's put that in there. So here's the laundry list going down, and then each one of those things on the next thing, and I just made up just for my little military thing, would be like, okay, each one has a page that for this project, you would say planning steps, budget steps, resources, a schedule, and action items that need to be done. So if I wasn't sorry, I'm moving. How are we doing on the skate park? Well, here is where we are right now. Here's all of the contacts. Here's who we're working with. And here's the steps that we've taken so far and our obstacles. And then when you come to the commission or the council and they want to know about the skateboard park, all you do is it would be presented right to you. You'd be able to see exactly where the holdup is, or exactly how far along, or we have to reach out to so-and-so. And each one of these could have a separate sheet of action to it. And then there'd be a third one that would, like a massive spreadsheet that the council, anybody could look at, and we'd see green, yellow, and red of progressing over a year, 5-year period, and you'd say, why is the Kinnenbrew collection red? Why is the Angel, or like, oh, it's green, so everything's tracking according to our plan. And so we could at least develop that, and I think if we showed council that we have a system in place, or that we want to put a system in place, then you can say, okay, here, now we're gonna start gathering ideas, and we have to work with the Playhouse. We have to work with the other nonprofits. We should be working with the Garden Club. Anybody that deals with art. Let's go get their ideas, and then we can start networking, and then we start building this village out here. So I tooted my horn long enough.
I'm just gonna go back to, which maybe I should just move forward, but the workshop or retreat for the Arts Commission that would have gotten us somewhere along the road to this strategic planning phase. And then, so we need to do that again. So do we get to revisit that and then ask permission from the council if we can have this space? It's open to the public, of course, the same way our meetings are, but they get to see what we're doing or whatever, but we need to be able to do what we need to do to get to where the council wants us to be. So it's like, yes, council, we want to plan. Can we plan? No, because you need a plan, because we're doing this. Like, what?
But I think,
That's frustrating.
yeah, I think Mary,
Have a planning session?
That wasn't it. It was when we said, and it's like, it's going back. So now we've had COVID and everything, but when I first came on, because I'm new, but when we first came on and we had this retreat set up and it's for like 4 hours and we got the whole center all ready to go. And the next thing you know, that's not what this is gonna be. This is gonna be turned out to be not a retreat, but a training session. And we're gonna pull out and we're gonna tell you what you can and you cannot do. And this is your job and this is who you communicate with. We spent all the time. We didn't get to talk about we didn't get to talk. It was the city telling the city, the city telling the Arts Commission, your place is this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do, and there was nothing addressed. And so now we're here.
I think it's okay that we stop reflecting on that bad experience and move forward.
Because we're here, because the problem is we're here right now, and so now we have a new council, and the new council is like, what are you doing? And we have been along the way, and we were like, we're on track, everybody's go, and then we get to go, and then the rules are changed in the middle. We don't have control over the changing rules.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, now we're gun shy. Do we get to have a meeting? How many of us get to meet? When do we meet? Are we using this meeting as a meeting? Do we sneak it under the doorway and then say it's something, but it's really not? What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, that's part of the guidebook. That's why I wanted to come up with that, because it would outline what the rules are for like a walking quorum. Like you can meet, you just can't have a quorum meeting.
Right, but then but then that part is also where it starts to be that two of us meet, me and Cynthia meet, and then Cynthia has to take her information and then go to somebody, take it, and then go over here and meet with Therese. And then, so we got these little pieces of meetings, but we can't all meet together. Yeah. Then when we do meet, then we're like, well, what was your, let's put the puzzle together now. That's a waste of time. Yeah. It's inefficient. And so if we have a meeting, that's what we did. We have 4 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours, and we have a strategic planning meeting that we come up with something, and we get to assign each other whatever we're doing because we know all the projects. And then when we show up at the next meeting, then the meeting goes, hey, JR, how's your thing going? Hey, Therese, how's your thing going? But we don't get to do that because we haven't got to do that.
We actually did it in January last year.
And isn't that what this meeting is?
And we planned, and we made plans, and then people will just shift things. You know, my constituents are kind of against me right now, and it's
challenge
frustrating
is,
for me.
we're talking about art. So art is not framed. No, it's not on this piece of paper. It's not, yes, it's not very, it's art. So it goes out there, you're writing on whiteboard, you're writing on the ceiling, we're writing on the floor. We're doing all sorts of stuff. And I think we are in a position now, because we've got passionate people here. We don't have enough people because everybody's got different things, but it's enough to start that I think we can demonstrate. And I think we have the leeway to go ahead and start pushing these things. Because now we know what the obstacle is, or what this perceived obstacle. And I think we can go start, just do it.
And we have a budget now. Whereas before, okay, you want to do sidewalk chalk? We have $300 of just do whatever you like to do.
And some of these things don't have to be the perfect plan, because when you wait for the perfect plan, you don't get anything done. So there's a lot of things that we could do, and we should start listing these things out and then find out where we can go with them.
Right. So everything that I've heard tonight is actually kind of what, as a council member and somebody as an outsider who's seen the art commission from the outside for years, is these are the things that I was looking for, and wanting to hear. So collaboration, economic development. I mean, the art is as an economic driver. And Cynthia, you mentioned an idea that it's been kind of swirling around in my head for a while, and that is it's the chalk art, but I would love to see more of a permanent installation downtown on Pioneer, because I fully agree that's a draw. It'll bring people to our downtown. It drives. It's an economic development. Same with the oak acorn. To be able to tie that in with our business community and have that as an economic developer, to work with our arts classes, work with our local arts teachers. Those are all the kinds of things that I think make the Arts Council a huge benefit to our community. And personally, that's what I would love to see more of, is, okay, this is kind of our plan. This is what we would like to do. And these are the benefits of it. It's not just going to bring a piece of art, but it's going to be a driver for economics. It's going to be bring people into town. And it does provide opportunities for the kids to express themselves through the wraps and stuff, doing the utility box wraps. And if we get kids to design some of that artwork and things of that nature, I think, those are definite wins. Yeah, Therese.
We're talking about what we want to present on the 25th, which is right around the corner.
Yes.
And at this point, I think we just have the argument, we don't really want any change to the funding, because we're restructuring and we're putting together a strategic plan. And for you to try to defund us, while we are actually, for the first time, I have been part of the most dysfunctional Arts Commission, not you people. I'm excited about you people, but when I joined the Arts Commission, I was in shock at who was at the table. It was just shocking, and nothing got done, nothing. It got to the point where when the fire hydrants got painted, I just stood up in a meeting and threw a fit. And I reached out to Cynthia, and she got her friend Istet. And I got my friend Lisa Hammer to paint. I got Tim Haslett to paint one. I got Kit Christopherson from the high school to paint one. And I just said, we're going to get this off our list. We've talked about this for 2.5 years. And the fire department had approved the fire hydrants being painted. They approved the paint. We had the money set aside. Kara Heisen had brought the idea that it was like 4 years before that. And I sat through 2.5 years of meetings. And finally, I just said, let's piggyback this with Main Street cleanup. And I borrowed tents from the hospital, and Kit and I went and picked up the paint, and I ran up and down the street giving people paint, and we painted all those fire hydrants in one day.
Here.
Huh?
We're getting too passionate on this. So
But I mean, I'm just trying to tell Eric that we have had ideas and plans, and we've talked about them, and then we talk about them again. Cynthia.
So I think what I have observed in my tenure on this committee or this board, what commission, is we were relying on the city to give us their policies and procedures and checklists on how to get things done. And it's no secret there's nothing in place. Like, there's not one employee that has all of the answers and how to get our ideas from concept to reality. So it's been a real struggle. So what I keep proposing is that we actually make time to develop those things ourselves, to tell the city council and tell our citizens how we as a team are going to go about getting these things done. Be it partnering with Parks and Rec, like Eric said, the teachers and the students, but we need to own it. We need to own developing the policies and procedures on how to get it done.
I agree.
Can I have 5 minutes to bring up my kickstart? When we were talking at the last meeting, we wanted something that was going to happen in the near future and then all the way out to the far future. And I came up with an idea that we've been talking about for many years, and Cynthia and I have talked about, and Eric just brought it up, wrapping the boxes. Kathy Reed went down and did a story on Langley, who has wrapped 3 boxes now. And she had a rumor that we were going to do it. And Jeff Humphreys wrapped for them because I had talked to Jeff years ago about wrapping for us. So I have figured out a way. I've been talking to Erica Jenkins from Home Connection because she has students that are English students that got grant money from a local nonprofit. And they've already done 2 projects with me on private property. But I have gotten go-ahead from Alex Warner at Public Works. I have the photographs of every box we have a right to wrap. I have the address underneath it, and then I have a list of addresses. So I have his emails in writing that it's like, go ahead and do it. So I had a meeting scheduled with Erica Jenkins to talk about spending her grant money and using her students' literary quotes matched with photographs, and them developing it. Jeff's already talked to us about keeping the cost down because he's giving us a quote of what he quoted me 4 years ago. And he says, I'll just kind of stand by that number. And I think it was $300 a box. So what I wanted to do, instead of going to meeting and setting up a call to artists, I wanted to offer that the Arts Commission would, if you want to be part of it, choose a piece of art that's free and it's not licensed and you don't have to pay for it. Each commissioner could choose a piece of art, or 2 or 3, so that we're not overlapping each other. We bring this art to each other. We decide which ones we will put on the boxes. We wrap immediately with Jeff, $300 a box, and we don't have to pay on those boxes local artists. But I do want to pay local artists. I want to do a call to artists. But if we do that first, we're going to postpone this for another 6 months or a year. So I wanted to go ahead, and I already talked to Jeff. I've already talked to Erica. She said her kids are ready to do their artwork and get it to Jeff and pay for it out of their grant money. But if we as arts commissioners, I had us the number 7, now we're not 7 anymore. But if we did that at $300 per box, and we just found really good art that represents us, and we all agree that that's good for the community, that's $2,100. Home Connection's going to do their own, and that with their own funds. And then I was going to do artists at $300 to wrap, and then $300 for them to submit art that they've already created in a digital form that Jeff can turn into the wrap. We could wrap every box, and the number I came up with was $5,700, but I'd probably ask City Council for $7,500 just because I don't want to go back and ask again. And then we also, Alex said that there were 3 boxes that belong to the county, but he's got permission from somebody. I have it in an email. So we could have 17 boxes wrapped. We're probably the only city in the state of Washington that doesn't have an art wrap utility box. We were just I mean, everybody's got them. Hoquiam has more than Langley, but we could turn all of our utility boxes into art, and they could be rewrapped in 5 years. It's not a permanent thing, but it's weatherproof. And this is something that I have been talking about. I talked about it with Cynthia. Everybody in the community, when you drive out by a wrapped box, you're just, God, that's so simple. It's just simple, and it brings.
Therese,
art.
I have to interrupt on this, because this is something that it should be an agenda item that we talk about at a commission meeting, where that everything that you've said has been laid out to us on a piece of paper so that we can take a look at this. Because when we meet as the art commission and city council, it shouldn't be come to this meeting and then everybody just go blah and throw out stuff and use up time. When we come here, when we meet as a commission, we should be making decisions and approving things and find out where we need to go from here. Now which is all the more reasons why we should get to that part where we get a couple of people to meet and develop this thing so it's on a piece of paper so we can all see it. And then we can decide what we want to do. Because I don't want you to turn around and say, one of the commissioners, me as a commissioner, I'm responsible for a box on Pioneer. With my time, that's going to be my thing, picking up a box. I don't know about that. I think we should come up with a better plan of how we're going to do this. What is the plan to implement this? And it can be done. How fast can it be done? We need to talk about that. But we can pick on some of these subjects, not at necessarily all of them at a commissioner meeting.
Yeah. And how do you eat an elephant? You know, it's kind of one bite at a time. There's 17 of them. We're not going to do 17 utility boxes next week. So how to pick 3 of them? Go, okay, we're going to do these 3, you know, this time around, and here are what the designs are going to look like, and just kind of step forward from there. That's great. There's grant money, but the problem is we have money in our coffers. We have close to $250,000. We don't need to go out and get $7 grand when that could be used, that $7,000 can maybe be used by like another nonprofit.
Yeah.
And then even if we go for grant money, I have to go to council. I mean, we have a grant coordinator that we can work with, but we can't just go and get grant money, because what if there is matching funds? What are the reporting requirements? All that kind of stuff.
But this is the part where this is a plan. This is a good plan,
I
but it requires strategy.
I've got it all written down, and the reason I wanted to jumpstart it with arts commissioners and JR, if you don't want to pick one and you don't want to work on art, you don't want to find it, you don't have to be part of that. But while we're actually putting something in place, we can also figure out how to get the call to artists done, get Sabrina doing some public outcry, and we get these artists to start bringing us the art so that it will just flow and happen. And maybe it happens in 6 months, maybe it starts in a month, and it's just, and Jeff's a very busy man, so he's going to be our go-to rapper. He might do 2 a month for the next year. I mean, I don't know what his schedule's like, and it's almost charity for what he's charging us. But it breaks my heart when I go spend my entertainment dollar in another community and I see things that are so simple and we can't even pull it together and do it here. It's a nothing. But I also want to incorporate, I had this conversation with Mary Elizabeth, reach out to the kids at the Guild in the high school, the straight A art students, and see if they're interested in being part of it. And they could be the paid artists, and they could get $300 for some kind of something they need in their classroom.
But then
And then yeah.
And so.
And maybe they get to revisit it every 3 years and redo a new one. But everything isn't happening. I mean, nothing's happening. I mean, we're still talking about an angel gift 3 years later, you know, and we haven't gotten the obelisk fixed that was installed incorrectly. And nobody knows about Craig's whale and salmon sculptures down in the park. That never got a ribbon cutting. We've got a lot of art that we've done. Verena's 2 sculptures up by the echo chamber at the top of the Scenic Heights Trail. There's a lot of really good things that we've done. We just haven't shared it with the community.
This is why we need that meeting.
Cynthia's got her hand up.
Can I make a suggestion, please? Since I know my intention to bring what I had done and shared with Gideon and Therese for good of the order is kind of waylaid us, but Therese, exactly what you're doing with your idea for the boxes should be on our agenda item for next month. And I know it's not good to kick the can down the road, but you'll get more done on that subject before our next meeting. But we need to come up with what's in the pipeline and what, you know, including ribbon cuttings for the installations that happened just before COVID hit for this workshop, which is our focus tonight. But the other thing I need to ask is, before an agenda is posted, can we have an opportunity to make a suggestion or change to it? Because I would have added a few things to this agenda tonight, but
I gave you guys an opportunity to do that. I sent it
so,
to you like before Christmas.
yeah. Well,
Yes.
For the art commission, we can do a better job. We know what we have to do. This art commission, the only thing they ever talked about before, when I first got on, the whole thing was driftwood days, or the driftwood thing. That was the only thing they ever talked about. And that's the statutes they already had in place. So now that if we can get a system and a process established, so we know what we want to do and how we want to schedule it, how we want to prioritize things, and take a look at the strategy over the next 5 years to say, okay, you know what? Right now, red would be the boxes. Can we bite that one? Can we jump on that right now? The Kinnenbrew collection's going, so that one should be like green. Things are progressing on that. The oak, that one should be like a yellow, because there's some things that we need to jump on. We have to really, for the unveiling process on that. And then there's some things that we're not going to start, or we don't have to start on it, but we'll know what we want to do over the next year.
So can we put that on the agenda for the next time?
Skate park art and graffiti should be a priority too.
But we shouldn't be talking about this right now.
We should have agenda.
It should be on the agenda. We can't just come out and toss this out.
Okay.
Much like we can't go to council and just throw something at them where they're not prepared. And what we want to do when it comes to the art commission meeting here, you really want to come with the yes.
And
I can get the yes, and I can get this approved, and this is why. Here's where we're at.
so can we put an agenda for the items, and then whoever's going to present that item for the presentation?
Absolutely.
Because now the person has all the information, and then it's in front of us. If it's one of us or two of us on the agenda, because all these other pieces that we're doing, they're kind of fillers.
Mhm.
And then every
Yeah.
time, again, we can keep going on, but yes, agenda item, talk about this because we have affected these other things in agreement, they're moving forward.
So this whole conversation that we've had today is kind of proof to me that when we go before the city council workshop on the 25th, we just say that making any decisions on the art fund money at this point is premature,
It is.
right? Just get a stay of execution, a hold. Let's just,
I don't think it's,
I don't think so. And the reason being is because we just say, hey, we want you to give us more time to figure out what we want to do. The Arts Commission's been around for how long, Cynthia? You said you've been on it for 10 years. There should be some expectation of a plan, and so we would like to see, at least I would like to see a plan, not just, hey, don't cut our funding because we got stuff coming, but we don't know what that is yet. I mean, we really should have. If you could say those things, Therese, we've got 3 boxes lined up. We have this grant money. We've got these artists. We're going to wrap these boxes. That's one. We've got these items in the works, and this is what's happening with these, and kind of a recap of what's already been done over the last for us that are new. And then we could talk about some of these other items that are potential economic development. I mean, that's with the current council we have, that's a big thing, is we want to see economic development, we want to see revitalization of downtown. And if you can send that, Cynthia, I mean, there's no reason why we can't all receive that email. It's just going to be a matter of public record. That email will become public record because it will go to everybody. But there's no reason why we can't share that with the entire group, you know? So to see that and then to be able to bring that to the next meeting and to be able to talk about it. But I would say to come to the workshop and say, just don't cut our funding because we got stuff coming up, that's not going to be sufficient.
So if I may, just about the workshop. So there will be a presentation by Dave Goldman, the finance director. The commission will have about 5 minutes to give a recommendation to council, and then there will be a council discussion. So anything that you want to relay to council as far as the creative arts utility tax revenue goes needs to be very succinct and in a recommendation form to council.
And the key word, Eric has nailed it, economic development. We haven't tapped into it yet. And that should be the #1 priority, is how to do economic development and using the art commission as a vehicle for that and using the arts as a vehicle for that.
So,
We-
go ahead.
Oh, okay, we have a little bit. So by having people, local businesses do the work. So having Whidbey do the vinyl wrap, for example, Whidbey Publishing, right?
No, we definitely do, yeah.
But, and then we have
Would be signs.
Main Street Collision did the painting of meditation.
Mhm.
So we're creating jobs.
Right.
Which is,
These are the points
Okay.
of interest.
Well, we could do something like Cynthia mentioned with the sidewalk chalk. That's driving people directly to downtown and those storefronts. When we do the music festival, that's driving people directly downtown to those storefronts. And so, you know, economic development in that sense, doing a brochure with the Acorn, that's driving people to our businesses.
So on the personal side, it's not an art commission. So this week, as an artist, I met with Mad Hatter Bake Shop. And on the 22nd of February, Mad Hatter Bake Shop, along with Mama Bear, will host a poetry reading with not a contest, but just a reading. In doing so, I also ended up connecting with another person who does business who suggested like it could be a contest and push marketing. This is future, but again, it simply was me as a citizen walking in because there's no place that I want to read poetry that's in a cool vibe place, and presented that to the business owner. Okay, so then that business is connected to Main Street, or we continue to do that, and then because the youth have no place really to like kind of outlet. It's not a money change. But that's something where you go out and then you solicit that kind of community in a space. And that's easy because the next place I go is to the skate shop.
Right.
To do the same thing with the skate guy. And then potentially by the summer, if there's enough traction, you end up having something at the skate park.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
It costs nothing. Literally.
Yeah.
But those are things that the citizens, but it's economic development.
In collaboration.
Right.
Yeah.
And so art can bring community and money.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I see, Teresa, if we were to do the wraps like with student art, that's just going to draw people to those. You know, the parents are going to want to see it. The kids are going to want to show it off.
And parents.
You know, when people come into town and they're like, hey, let's go see the box I wrapped. And so it's a win when we can involve our youth as well. And
I just want to say one thing about Oak Harbor and like North Whidbey. These kids are artistic. They are talented and they leave here. When they leave here, they don't come back, but they are famous outside of here. That teacher that I met, Patricia Howley, I met her at dinner at a restaurant in Anacortes who was sitting with her student, who is an adjunct professor, writer at UCLA. These people grew up in Oak Harbor. This is the extensions and the opportunity again
Right.
for exposure for Oak Harbor.
Right.
So anyway. Go ahead. So we could have an agenda.
Yeah.
And then a plan and a succinct 5 minutes, and who would be presenting that at the council?
How are we going to do that by the 25th? To have a logical 5-minute speech?
We have all the data.
Huh?
We have all the data, is what she said.
We have
And
all the data.
I just asked Blaine, you know, I'm guessing I'll have to do a PowerPoint. We have David Goldman, who's going to talk about the budget and what has been set aside. You know, we have our budget, but also the projects that are associated with council resolutions.
And do we need a PowerPoint, or do we just have like a handout?
I'm guessing we probably do have to do a PowerPoint. Any thoughts? Because council
What do you
does
want to include
have,
in PowerPoint?
I guess it would just be bullet points of showing the numbers. And then I thought about the list of local vendors that we've utilized.
And you can include some of the pieces too that already have been purchased, that are in the works, and kind of what where they're going to go. Maybe put a rendering or something of this is where it's going to be in this park, and then because I never knew until the last meeting that it's going to be kind of a step all the way down to the waterfront. I didn't realize it was kind of an art trail that took us down, and so each piece is going to have its own location that would be that. I didn't know that.
It would be interesting to kind of list out, hey, here's all the projects that these funds have provided, and basically the impact, showing the impact of what these funds have done.
So I have a question.
I think it would be good to say, okay, here's what we have done. Here's kind of what's coming down the line right now that we're working on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Eric, do you have the ability to wrap boxes?
No, I would recommend that Jeff does it. Yeah,
Okay,
I think he's
I
already
just-
doing a great deal. I would absolutely stick with Jeff.
Well, I have physically and
talking
in
about this
paper
now.
gotten Alex Warner to
We
tell
shouldn't be
me.
talking
you-
about this right now.
Well, I'm meeting with Erica Jenkins tomorrow, and she's going to use grant money, and she's going to wrap 2 boxes. And I have permission from Alex to do it. And it's not going to be Arts Commission money, but it's going to be an Arts Commission, the start of a project that we want to be part of, that we want to add the community to. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
If we're gonna discuss anything and put decisions on it, it should be on the agenda item. We should be following some sort of procedures. I agree that we can talk about this at the workshop. It should be one of the items that's on there. And that's all we need to say, that this is being worked on. We're wrapping boxes, and it's gonna be part of economic development. I don't think we need to make decisions on this right now of who's gonna do it and how much it's gonna cost right here. That's not for this right now.
Thanks, JR. Kind of getting everybody in the center. So we have our vinyl boxes, we have the Kinnenbrew collection. We have the actual budget, working with local vendors,
Skate park,
some ideas. Sorry, what was that?
skate park.
Skate park. We also have COVID, which really was a damper on us. I mean, that just kind of really prevented us from
I
doing
mean,
a lot of stuff.
that's what we're still doing. We're still playing, with Zoom and everything. If you're just looking for ideas, I know we said the chalk thing. I've said the chalk thing in the past. And I know, Cynthia, you're thinking big. And big is good, but I was thinking small. Starting off small, where it's just Oak Harbor. We don't have to have somebody coming up from Tacoma or Bellevue or whatever to be if it got big enough, then we could do that. So you've got, and then you've got the kids right here, they've got their art walk that occurs in the spring. How can we support the art walk?
Don't we have an art walk on the 25th also? There's an art walk on the.
If we're just looking to put some things down here on the 25th, for the 25th, and then the other thing would be, do we
Can I-
want to meet again to develop this list for the 25th?
Can I share my screen? Gideon, will you give me permission? Because there's these older documents that are out there that would probably be useful.
Sorry about this. I really, but I think. Here you go. Yes. Okay, go ahead and try sharing your screen now.
Let me see if I can find it. Shoot. With comments. I'm sorry, you guys.
That's all right. I've doing that most of this meeting.
What's the obelisk that she's talking about?
So that is down at Windjammer Park, and that was given to us like close to 10 years ago. And it's a memorial for some Navy folks who died in a plane crash over in Eastern Washington, as well as some Navy people. When it was put together wrong, where, you know, there's 3 sections of it. So now it says the Navy people are Marines, and
Oh, no.
and yeah, so, and it was put together using this contractor grade epoxy, so you can't just pull it apart.
No.
So they're coming up with like new surfaces to correct it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you see this sideways?
I don't know. We'll have to get.
We're
those
gonna
right
take the
trees.
TV off the wall and turn it.
Can you see this spreadsheet that was used back in 2021?
Yeah, I remember that spreadsheet.
So these are kind of a good spot to start as far as what's in, I mean, because none of this has really been done since then because of COVID. But it talks about pipeline stuff, right?
Yeah.
All the stuff that we didn't want to look at for 3 more years and ask Gideon to stop doing them. But they could be
Yeah.
helpful for the workshop is what I'm saying.
Yes,
I'm thinking, yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, can you see what those?
Yeah. That's that.
So yeah, we'll use that as our guide.
We do have stuff in there. That's helpful. Because if it's not in writing, it doesn't.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, for doing that.
Mhm. Well, I guess I've got to ask, who's going to do the work? Is it Gideon? Is it Gideon and me? Is it Gideon and Therese? I mean, who's going to put this together so we have a chance to review it before the 25th? I mean, by way of email reviewing it, not another meeting.
I'm available to help.
Yeah.
I'm available.
Yeah, I can make it, one of my priorities. I need to do that for Brian as well, since, a lot of them are obviously in parks.
Commander, so what do we want to get together on this?
Who's going to take the lead?
Who's got their
I'm
calendars?
not going to be here on the 25th. I'm going to be a magic guy again, and I'll be in Ohio. But
Do we
We
want
have
to
to be-
agree to meet in the conference room with all our materials that we want to add up? And put a package together? Do you want? I could look at my calendar and we can just set a time.
I'm pulling up a calendar here.
Gideon's
We
looking at his
do-
calendar.
Today's the 12th.
Would it be possible to just do it via email?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Because in order to do a meeting, and we fall into that public meetings, and we would have to do all of that fun stuff. And, we would have to meet essentially next week, and we don't have enough time to. Or at the end of,
As a subcommittee, you'd have to give public notice?
sorry, what was that?
Even as a smaller group, we'd have to give, I mean, even if it was just two of us that met?
Oh, if two of you could go ahead and
If you
meet.
don't have a quorum, you don't have to notice it.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And the other thing with email, what you do is you send it, have your name in the to line, and then use the blind courtesy copy, the BCC, and you could send it to everybody when you do that. It's just obvious that's what I've been doing with you folks. But it's
See,
this way you
and
can
to
avoid.
be blunt, I'm afraid to say, hey, Cynthia, you want to meet tomorrow at Whitby Coffee, and we just go in and being here on the record, or, you know, with somebody staring at me, or this is like, so am I allowed to do that? Say, hey, you want to meet me at Whitby Coffee tomorrow, and we could go and hack through some of this stuff? Because I'm available.
Absolutely.
Are you asking me to?
No, because you, or I could, I'm available. I'm available to play tomorrow if anybody wants to play.
I'm sorry, I am not. But I am willing to help. I'm willing to do it by way, I mean, I can get
Why
some
don't we shoot the
economic
email out
driver.
and everybody digest this over the weekend?
Okay,
Can you email us those 2 photos that you just shared?
you bet.
Please, thank you.
I was gonna ask that.
Oh, okay.
Can you even know that packet? Remember you made that packet, right, with all the colors that Cynthia had?
Yes,
If we can get it, all of us can get that. That'd be great.
can do.
Shall we go to number 8 and adjourn?
Yes, please.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
I think